I wanted to go ahead and get started. I am delighted to have all of you here for our 10th annual Women's Encounter. And I'm also delighted to have Iska Arani here for the third year, and all of you who have been able to enjoy the beauty of the Kinneret. Isn't it wonderful in Pilgrim House? Yes, it's just lovely. And so I wanted to explain a few housekeeping items, and then we're going to talk just a few minutes about the title of this conference, which is called Bone of My Bone. I wanted to introduce Albert. And why is Albert here? It's because I am speaking in English. This will be the only English conference. And so if you want to hear a Hebrew translation, what channel should they be on? What channel? Number 4. And so if you want to hear the Hebrew translation, you can turn to channel number 4. All right, so first I'm going to introduce myself, and then I'm going to tell you some important information for your time here, your day here. My name is Kathleen Nichols, and I would love to know what Iska said. Oh. I'm kidding. And I am here in Magdala. I'm what they call a consecrated woman. That means that 31 years ago, over 31 years ago, right out of college, university, I decided to give my life to God. And so because of that, I'm from the United States, and because of what we call a vocation, my calling, I have been in a lot of places around the world. And I have to say, my dream was always to come here. The Lord put it in my heart, and so when I was assigned here, I gave thanks to the Lord. For much of my life, I worked with young people and with families and at schools. And one of the priests we have here with us, Father David, in the back, it's an easy way to remember his name. David is a common name around here. He was the head of the school, and I was actually working with him. So it's really strange to be in the same land, but I'm delighted to be here. What do I do? Well, here at Magdala, we welcome people. So we hope that you feel very welcome to Magdala. We call Magdala a crossroads of Jewish and Christian history. And for those of you who have not been here before, you'll be able to dive into that today. The other thing that I do here in Magdala, because I got here just as COVID started, 4 months before, 5 months before, we started what we call virtual pilgrimages. So through media, we produce videos of the entire country. We've been to Israel, Palestine, Jordan, Egypt. We actually started in Goshen. We went through the Nile. We crossed the Red Sea into Sinai, up through Jordan, looked out into the Promised Land, and crossed over the Jordan River. So this is what we did last time. So that's one of the things we do to encourage people, because there's so many people who want to come here. There's something that touches their heart, and I mean of the whole Holy Land. So the other thing that I have the grace to do is to help organize a simple encounter each year to honor women. And so for those of you who have your roses, you can almost lift them on high. It's almost like, ladies, this is part of your dignity. It's your beauty. And really, you could actually lift it high. Look at, she's got hers. Look at that. This is like, in a certain sense, your sword, or in a way, your weapon, but your weapon of grace and beauty and dignity. It's your voice in many ways. And that's why today, we're dedicating our day to speak about women's voices. So I wanted to first, before we dive into a very simple reflection that I want to offer you, because I studied biochemistry, okay? I'm a biochemist. I love science. After I consecrated my life to God, we live in community, we live poverty, chastity, and obedience, meaning this ring is for God, so he is sort of the bride and Kabbalat Shabbat, if you want it. He comes to, in that sense, into my life. But I've also studied theology and at different levels, different advanced degrees, and so it's a grace for me to do this. Okay, you have folders in front of you, and I want to make sure you know what's there. I think you looked at them. You have your program here. You can take a look at what we're doing and raise your voice today. Speak to each other, speak to the Lord, speak inside your own hearts. Behind the schedule, you will have some paper, and you should have a pen, okay? And on the schedule, we have this conference. We'll speak about Mary Magdalene. And then at 12 o'clock, you've already heard some of the practice. This is going to be a treat, listening to the only concert of La Susana. It should be outstanding. Lunch is actually going to be more closer to 1:30 because the concert does have an intermission. Okay, it's 70 minutes long with a 10-minute intermission. Okay, so we'll be eating lunch about 1:30. And then we'll be back here after lunch at 3 for Yiska's conference on Queen Esther's voice, just in time for Purim. And then after this, we have Alma, Israeli Women's Voice, the concert tour, which is also a huge treat if you've not heard them before. That starts in the lobby. So go back to the lobby and we start there. And then we'll walk to some places, key places in the archaeological site. And then for those of you who would like to, at 6:30, we have a Catholic Eucharistic celebration in the chapel next door. Father David will be there, as will Father Eamon Kelly. And you're very welcome. Anyone and everyone is welcome to attend. The sisters we have in the back and us, consecrated, will be singing for that Mass. It's always nice to hear that. They have beautiful voices. So, also you have this in your folder. And this is a guide to the archaeology. If you don't have a chance to see all of it today, you can come back. And I do have to apologize, the Hebrew's not perfect. It's not an easy language, I'll be honest. The Arabic isn't perfect either. We have a lot of languages out there. I wanted to point this out. This is a map of the site. And you'll notice that there's yellow dots on this. And those are the safe rooms or the bunkers, okay? It's important to know that. Duken Altum, if you look at your map, is here. And this is the south wing and the north wing. And by the yellow dots, there are numbers. Those are the room numbers. In case anything happens, we've only had one siren here, but we want to make sure you know that and have that. In addition, there are times that we have a short circuit in the hotel, and over the sound system, we will hear Akshibu, Akshibu, and everybody's like, oh! Unless it continues and they confirm it with the intercom, it's a short circuit. Ask anybody who's been here before, they've probably heard it. Now, there's a couple of other things in your folders. You'll need this for 12 o'clock. This is the program for the concert. This is a document you'll need for the 3 o'clock conference. And here's the program for the 4:30 concert. I think that's everything. Except there's one more thing that I would like you to have at hand if we have time. And if we don't, that's okay too. You should have a small red name tag that you have in your folders. If you could just take that out and leave it close, because we will hopefully use it at the end. This is what I mean. If you have this, you should have an extra one in your folder, not the one in your name tag, not this one, this one. Yep, I will tell you what we need it for at the end. Just have it with you with your pen. Alessandra will bring more. Okay. Alessandra, you'll bring more, yes? Okay. There's one other thing I needed to tell you. you will see people with maroon-colored, red-colored shirts that say Magdala, volunteer. They have a boat mosaic on them, some of them. They're here to answer your questions. Only one speaks Hebrew. Ani lo medeveret ivrit, okay? I've tried. We're working on it. It's not easy. The only thing I can say in Hebrew is Ani rotze kafe. I can say that in Arabic, Ana vidi kafe. I can also say fish masari, which is an important, no, just kidding. I say that in the marketplaces. Now, I also wanted to mention this. Some of you who have been here before have seen these, and this is actually something you will be receiving. For those of you who are here during the day, you get to choose. There's a lot of types and a lot of styles. And this for Purim? No. This is actually to honor the last concert that we have, because Alma, Israeli women's voice, they use this. They use flowers as their characteristic, okay? Don't I look great? I made this one for you. So there's different styles and different kinds, because each one of us has a different voice and style that we've been given. So we will have those right outside after this conference before you go into La Shoshana, okay? Wonderful. I have a total of 15 minutes. We started a little late, but let's see if we can look at this. Do you recognize this? Of course you do. Of course you do. Who has been to Rome, to the Sistine Chapel? Seeing it in person is definitely wonderful. Oops, I don't want to log out. And so, las etiquetas solo. Yeah. And if anyone needs a folder, we have more here. Okay. Of course, we recognize the creation of mankind. There's Adam, and of course, the arrow points directly to Isha. There she is. There's the woman right there in the plans of God from the very beginning. And so we know very well the text in Genesis. It's bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh that Adam says when he sees her. And so this title, the title of this woman, what this woman says to Adam is the title of this talk. It's not really bone of my bone. It's actually woman reveals man to himself. The woman reveals man to himself. What are we talking about? Well, as we said here, we've got woman behind God the Father, and we know from Genesis, Bereshit, if I'm not mistaken, is she just a special gift to Adam? Is that what she is? Of course she is. Is she the helper with the depth of meaning of that word? Like God was the helper to the ancient Israelites in the Exodus? Yes, and more. I would say, and many theologians agree, that she is the identity of man. What? Okay. She is the revelation of man to himself. So what am I talking about? So here we have a lovely icon of God. This is a Christian icon, so we have, of course, as Christians believe, the God made flesh, so you see the image of Jesus. And of course you have Adam there, and Eve coming forth from his side. In English, does anyone know what word we use for that? Rib. That's exactly right. Does anyone know the specific word in the Bible in Hebrew for that? You can say it much better than me. It's Selah. 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 Okay, awesome. So that actually, if we go into the meaning of that word, it is fascinating because it doesn't necessarily mean bone, does it? So So as we get into that, I just wanted to show these two quotes, because this is what happened before bone of my bone. So the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon the man, and while he slept, took one of his ribs, in a translation in English, and closed up its place with flesh. And then the man said, "This at last is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh." We know the story very well. So this might not be exact. I apologize. Remember who I am and where I'm from, the United States. So if this is the correct Hebrew word, if you look in the Bible, you see that there's different meanings. Like you said, it means side. Side of a hill, side of the ark, side chambers. I think in this particular passage, they're referring to the temple. And so here we have this. Man was incomplete without her by his side. So when he was put into a deep sleep, there's also a meaning we have to look into before we continue. Okay, he wasn't half a man, but if we're looking at the meaning of that word, which is side, his side was taken. And from that side, she was made. Half of him was made complete, right? The word that's used in the Genesis, and this is Genesis, it's also used in Job, it's used in Daniel, even the Daniel in the writings. I know it's not in the prophets, and what we're doing with Dashusana is actually the part of Daniel it's on I think it's on one of the fragments of the Dead Sea Scrolls, which is fascinating, even though it's not in the writings, but it is in our Bible. But going back to sleep in these areas, it's not typical and ordinary sleep. The word, which is, thank you, tardigma. I knew this. I used to be able to read this. Okay. This typically means a type of sleep that blocks all awareness of the physical world. And it is often used for someone who is about to receive a vision from God. And that's what these ones are talking about, these different passages. So what happened to Adam? He was in a deep sleep and was about to receive a vision. Of what? Him being cut in half and a woman being made from his side. So what are the implications of this? Well, mankind is man and woman. We know this. There are two parts. But the most important thing is the depth, because we know that these are metaphorical texts, and they go to the depth of the meaning of who we are as people, our relationship with each other, our relationship with God. So the meaning is man and woman have the same dignity. They have the same ingredients. Adam, right? She's made from him, he's made from the soil, and there you go, that's his name. The same direct creation by God, the same mission, reading in Genesis as we know, to order creation, to work in the garden. The same purpose, which is to have that intimate relationship with God as he strolls through the garden. The deity is there in the afternoon, and that's the only creature that's there, in fact, to do that with. Because the creation of man, as we know, is the first creation in Genesis, if you look at Genesis 1. What was the very last creation? It depends on the version, right? Because the two of them, Genesis 1 and 2. Adam was the first. Who was the second? The very last. Eve, woman. They're like two bookends around creation. And if you look at that philosophically, that means that all of this was made for them, so that God, kind of like in Sukkot, has a place to dwell among us and be intimate with us. That's what he wants. So the bookends of creation and what we're made for. This is why Adam can say, that she is bone of my bone at last. And that is because when he sees her, and you can think of a woman when she holds a baby, even a man, okay, because this is actually general, and she looks at that child. It's been wonderful to have children here for 5 months. You look at that child and they look at you, as these two are looking at each other, as the mosaic behind us shows Jesus looking at Mary Magdalene and Mary Magdalene at him. And everywhere in Magdala, in mosaics, here in Duke and Altum, outside in the mosaic map of first century Galilee, it's the vision, it's the look. Why can we affirm something so extraordinary to say that woman reveals man to himself? When he looks at her, he understands who he is. And one of the main things that I think it is has to do with that look one to the other. And that is, as it says in Genesis, it is not good for man to be alone. So we are made for relationship, to look and to see. I don't know myself well if you don't look at me, and you don't know yourself well if I don't look at you. It is not good for us to be alone. Woman was essential, and she reveals man to himself, and him back. He reveals us to ourselves. So that look or that vision, if you look at somebody, especially as a mom, and women have this sort of as part of their nature, men do too, don't get me wrong, but women especially, there is a natural way of looking at someone and connecting with them and being empathetic with them and understanding a little bit more, some better than others, but it comes with being a woman, a little bit more. And what is transmitted through that look, you are loved because of who you are, not because of what you do. Adam looked at her and said, oh, he probably said, wow. I don't know what he said, but he said, bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. I know who I am, and I love you because you are. Eve didn't do anything at that point, nothing. Another characteristic. This is what Adam said to Eve in a sense, I say, but this is what every mother says to her children. And this is what every parent says to her children. This is what every person who loves another person says to that person. And what does that reveal? Who we are, our identity. Isn't that extraordinary? How simple. Something we've thought about a lot. So of course we know. And with this, don't worry, this is the conclusion, because I'm going to make sure you guys are in good seats for the concert. We know what happened next. We have the fall. Of course, we know who's in the tree. Michelangelo did a great job. You've got the human face, fooling people, but the animal body. We're all animal, but created in the likeness of God, right? With intelligence, will, memory, all these things. So now I want you to look at this mosaic behind us. This is called the Mary Magdalene Chapel. I was going to tell you a little bit more about Mary Magdalene and Magdala, but I'm going to cut that short and suggest something. If you've not seen this, it's actually one of the better books, very easy to read book. It's in English and Spanish right now. If anybody wants to translate it one day into Hebrew or to Arabic, it's awesome. But this speaks about Mary Magdalene, insights from ancient Magdala. This is part of ancient Magdala, where you are right now. The other part's with the Franciscans, right? It talks about who she is, where she's from. It talks about whether or not Dan Brown was correct. We get a lot of people coming in and seeing a statue, which is on the other side of this chapel, and it's a woman who is expecting a child. And they say, oh, is that Mary Magdalene? No, that's Jesus' mother. No, that's actually a misinterpretation. But I just want to tell you why this is so important to understand who she is and why I recommend the book. From one of the writings called the Gnostic Gospel, and this is the Gospel of Thomas, I'm going to read a quote. This is Peter. For those of you who know something about Christianity, Peter was the head of the apostles. We have him sinking in the water in the next chapel over. He probably walked on these stones. And this is what the Gnostic Gospel of Thomas says. It's not in the canon, as you know, but it's a commentary, and it has a lot of Gnostic philosophy. It says, meaning like mysterious things that you need to be revealed about God. It says, Simon Peter said to them, make Mary Magdalene, leave us, for females don't deserve life. Are you kidding me? That's probably why it didn't make the Bible. Second part of this quote, Jesus said, look, I will guide her and make her male, so that she too may become a living spirit, resembling you males. For every female who makes herself male will enter the kingdom of heaven. What? So if there were any women in the meetings about which books should be considered inspired by God, they said, no. This is why this is a problem, but it's interesting how it points to what perhaps some of you women, I think all of us women, may have lived or do live sometimes. Not because of the men who are in this room, not at all, but it's because of this, of what happened here. The beautiful order of relationship, of love. It's not good for me to be alone. You reveal to me who I am. I reveal to you who you are. We're meant to be in a relationship, not alone, is lost. Order in all creation is broken down. And this is some of the conclusion that happens. And I would love to talk more about this, but we don't have time. But if you get the book, I'm not promoting the book, although a friend of mine did write it. It actually explains it beautifully. But since we have just 3 or 4 minutes, I wanted to point again to the mosaic. If you notice, again, we are in a garden. There's a tree. Look at the tree, and you see that there's a snake, don't you? You also have these weird 6 demons, because the title here in Latin says, Mary, who is called Magdala, or Magdalene, from whom 7 demons were thrown out. There's a lot that I wanted to say about who Mary Magdalene is. Some people think she did have demons. So this is a picture of that. So I want to draw your attention to a couple of things. First, you've got the center figures, Mary Magdalene and Jesus. And they're in a setting, which is a garden. Does anybody recognize what's in the background? Our bell. Who's climbed our bell? Isn't it beautiful? So worth it. Yes, if you haven't, you can start from the top and go down instead. So this is taking place here in Magdala. It could have happened here. We don't know. But as you know, Magdala was a town, one of the most important towns in the first century on the Kinneret. And this town was known perhaps for prostitution and perhaps because they worshipped idols. And so didn't have a great reputation, and that's probably why, one of the reasons why Mary Magdalene is sometimes said to be not only possessed, but perhaps a prostitute. The fact of the matter is, it says she had 7 demons and they're going out of her. The point is, the disorder comes from here. Now look at Jesus' hand. Okay? The person who made this said, in mosaic, I'm going to try to make the hand like this hand. Creation. Because she's experiencing a new creation. And if you look at her closely, look at her face. At the top, she's pink, rosy. If you go down further, you see toward the bottom, she has a ripped dress, right? And it's gray and brown. So if you look at the encounter, this look that she had from Jesus, not only is she being healed from disorder that's going out from her, that healing is taking over her entire body. And then if you see her feet, she has 2 feet, one that's planted well and one that's in movement, ready to make a change in her life. When I am looked at with love in relationship, I am invited to go into the garden, just like Adam and Eve were invited to go into the garden and order it. It was made for them and made for relationship. And of course, the tree here, the palm tree, Tamar, if I'm not mistaken, Tamar, thanks, is a very common name. I love it, actually. Maybe it's a different type of palm tree. It references, of course, Psalm 91, 92, right? The righteous one. She's being called to righteousness and to order. And again, why? Relationship. So now, who doesn't have a name tag? For those of you that do, I'm going to give you just a couple of seconds. I'll give you those that don't, to write your name or a nickname, or if you don't want to write your name, write something that's yours, just one word, and I want you to keep it. You have a pen and write your name or something here. Raise your hand if you don't have one. You should have it in your folder. So if you have your name, and those of you who don't, I will get you one, so just 1 second. I want you to do two things. And with that, then we'll leave together. Look at that person who's next to you, in the eyes. You and me. Okay, you two, you and me. Take a look at them. Be looked at by them. It's not easy, right? To keep that. Who needs one? Alessandra has them. Here. Now, once you look at them, here, Alessandra and Yiska and me. Okay, now that you've looked at them, okay, 1 second. Alessandra in the back. Aya. With this name tag, or this writing which represents you, maybe you've never met, maybe you've never known each other. I want you to exchange names. And you have this name. I have a name. And this is a person that I can keep with me, pray with, pray for, that their dignity and beauty come forth. Okay? Iris, I've got you. Wonderful. Thank you for this first conference.